Rev up your engines!
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
Today I'm going to talk about why it might be a good idea for you to buy a beater car to drive around in. Let's face it, cars are getting more and more expensive. To buy a new car, you get expensive new insurance because the new car is worth a lot of money. If it gets stolen or wrecked, insurance company's got to shell out a lot. So everything costs more and more and more. Here's my beater car. Years ago, I bought this 94 Celica for $350 from one of my customers. And it was a pretty beat up looking car then. My customer had it painted at a high school, one of those vocational high schools. And they didn't know how to paint the plastic, so this had all peeled out and the orange was sticking out from underneath. And the left front fender was bashed in. And it had over 200,000 miles on it, but it's a Toyota. And it ran great. Now, yeah, I spent $800 having my body guy put a fender on and paint the whole car silver again. You don't have to do that. But since I only paid $350 for it, what the heck, the investment was still pretty small. And that was ages ago. Car still runs like a clock. It's my beater work car. You can't beat that. Because you buy a shiny new car, first time somebody bashes it or it gets scratched, you're gonna go bananas because your beautiful car is now imperfect and has scratches on it. Why not buy one that already has scratches and dents in it? Heck, then you won't care as much. And carjacking, you don't need to worry about no stinking carjacking if you're driving an old beater car. Who's gonna steal that? Now, when I was a young mechanic, all mechanics that run their own shops, they had to drive a beater car. And here's their reasoning. If customers came into the garage and saw that, hey, the owner's driving a brand new Cadillac, he must charge too much money fixing cars. We're not gonna go there. So my father, a wise businessman, always had a beater car that he drove back and forth to work. And my mother, she drove the nice car at home. So there's yet another advantage of having a beater car. And I have a lot of customers that do that. Even if they're single, they'll have a really nice car that they use on the weekends, going to parties and stuff. But they have a beater car that they put all the mileage on when they go to work. They put the high mileage on the old car that isn't worth anything and keep their newer car much fresher. Just price the difference between insuring this 94 Celica and insuring a brand new car. There's a big deal of difference there. On this thing, I pay $350 a year insurance. Granted, that is more than I paid for the car, if you want to do percentages, but really, the insurance is relatively cheap when you're dealing with a beater car versus a new one, and that's money you're never going to see back. Now, another advantage of owning a beater car, you can often save money when it's inspection time, because like here in Texas, if your beater car is more than 25 years old, they only do a safety inspection once a year. They don't do one of these emissions tests where you might have to spend a fortune on a new catalytic converter or have your engine rebuilt so it meets pollution standards. Once they're over 25 years old here in Texas, you don't have to deal with all that crap. And if you live in a state like, say, Tennessee, where they don't do any inspections at all, hey, you can drive your beater car virtually forever. Now, you don't want to buy a piece of junk that's falling apart, but hey, there's lots of good cars out there. Older Toyotas, older Hondas. They got tons of life left in them, but hey, they get higher mileage, they don't cost that much. Or, as I said before, maybe the paint isn't perfect. Maybe they have dings here and there. Hey, the value of their car plummets way down, but it still might run perfectly fine. And you can always fix it a little here, a little there, or if you just want it to look halfway decent, you go to one of those places that says, we'll paint any car for $199. It won't be a perfect paint job, but at least it'll be one color. Or if you don't care about perfection and really like a beater car, I see guys, they'll get spray cans, they'll spray paint the entire car with a spray paint can. And of course, ultimately, since beater cars are generally older cars, they're somewhat easier to repair than the modern computer high-tech cars. If you don't like the tech that it doesn't have, like the video I made a few weeks ago, you can always take the radio out, put one of those little Android units in that cost a couple $100 or so, then you'll have all the computer stuff you want for a very small amount of money. Just think, if you find a good beater car, no more worrying when you go out to eat that, oh, the valet's gonna smash my car up, or oh, I'll have to park way out because the cars are all tight here and someone's gonna smash into my car. You don't have to worry about that stuff anymore. And with aftermarket parts getting less and less expensive and they work perfectly fine, at least if you get decent ones and don't go too cheap, repairing the older cars is getting cheaper and cheaper. And guess what? On the older cars, there's a lot of stuff you can actually fix yourself. But in that respect, don't go too far with a beater car. I've had customers that thought they had kind of a classic beater car, like a Thunderbird from the 70s. And they didn't understand that most of those Thunderbirds from the 70s were kind of cookie cutter cars that never would be worth any kind of money. And they'd put a whole bunch of money into one only to find that they just eat all that money away and they'll never get it back because the car itself really isn't worth all that much. So I say, if you get a beater car, keep it a beater car. You can wash it and wax it and clean it or whatever. Just don't throw a whole bunch of money into it because you realize that's your beater car. And if you have teenagers and soon they're going to be learning how to drive, hey, they get the beater car, which can teach them a good lesson about cars, maintaining them, the expenses that are entailed when you have a car and how to maintain it. It's a good life lesson. Because really, if you buy a beater car wisely, you might have a car that still has 60-70% of its life, but you're only paying like 10% of what the original sticker price was. So I say, long live beater cars. And in that respect, if any of you guys out there want to make a video of your beater car, feel free to send it to me. And if it's an interesting beater car, I'll stick that video up so the whole world can see your beater car. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.